Hello, everyone. This is Retro Gamer Mike. I've been a gamer my whole life. I was born in the 70s, so I was there for all of it. You know, the Magnavox Odyssey that played Pong, the Atari Age, the 2600, the 5200, the 7800, and, the 80s, 90s, the NES, you name it, Super Nintendo, Genesis. And I'm making this video because of all this DKOldie bull crap that's going on. I'm outside because, well, this is the nicest weather we've had in this area in quite a while. The point of this video is to try to educate some people on retro gaming and the pricing, because this company, DKOldies, is not only overcharging a lot of people, they are also providing consoles at twice the amount of what they're worth. I'm a businessman. I do resell lots of stuff, but I also know the prices of these items because, well, anyone that grew up in those decades know what something is worth. And what I'm getting at is that if you don't understand the product that you have, you're never going to understand what it's really worth. Like, for example, an 8-bit NES system, just out of the box. Nintendo made millions of those. And the more copies of something that's created, the less it's worth. Yeah, it's an old system, and you're thinking, God, that's going to be worth a lot of money. Well, not necessarily, because hundreds of millions of NESs were made. The system is more common than you think. And it's only worth money if it's complete in the retail box, and the retail box isn't beat to hell. It comes with all the styrofoam inserts, the user manuals. If it's complete in box, like you just bought it in the 80s, then it's going to be worth $200 to $400. Now, when it comes to actual video games, you also have to take some other things into consideration. And this information is available on the internet if you research it. Number one, you see DKOldies charging hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars for first-party Nintendo games. First-party Nintendo games are made by Nintendo, whether it be Mario, Zelda, Kirby. Those games, when they were available on the market as brand new, they were released in like millions and millions and millions of copies. Now, because of that, those games aren't rare. Okay, you wouldn't believe that. There were like at least 3.8 million copies of, I think it was Super Mario 64. Now, 3.8 million copies is nothing compared to, like Mario Sunshine, which had 10 times as many copies manufactured. Those games are not worth $400. At the very most, if the disc or cartridge is functional and you have the retail box the game came in, along with the manual and the cardboard inserts, then you're looking at maybe, if you're lucky, a couple $100. So this bull crap of charging $200 and $300 is insane for just a single copy with no box, no manual, nothing. I'm trying to make you understand that it's not just the game itself or the title of the game that makes it worth any money. What really makes it worth money is how many copies were manufactured, what condition it's in, and what it comes with. Any game, whether it's a PlayStation 2 game, a Dreamcast game, 8-bit NES game, Super Nintendo, N64, if it's CIB, cartridge in box, cartridge works, sticker's immaculate, there's no marker on it, there's no damage to the label, you got the box, you got the little tray it goes into, the plastic baggie the cartridge goes into, and also the user manual. Okay, any game from pretty much any console from that era, if it comes like that, is worth money. And what its worth really is based on what the market can bear. And you can easily check these prices on eBay and Mercari, okay? And that will be your baseline for what it's worth. So if a game that is complete in box is selling for $200, okay, you could probably sell it for $150 or less and still make one hell of a profit. But that's only if you acquire the game at a reasonable price. Like there was one DKOldie video where some guy paid $200 for a disc version of Need for Speed. That game was manufactured in the millions. I mean, by itself, just the disc, it's $5. That's really what it's worth. I've been doing this sort of thing since 2001, okay, when it comes to reselling. And you're being raked over the coals. You really are. And you need someone to explain all this to you without all the glamorous music and fancy intros. I'm just here to help retro gamers, and I hate to use this word, normies, understand that if you're not getting a complete in box game and paying $200, you're being ripped off. It's as simple as that. And that doesn't just apply to DKOldies. That also applies to some Amazon sellers, some eBay sellers. You know, once you start to understand the way it works, you're going to not only save a lot of money, but you're also going to make some money. And if you're a buyer, you'll avoid, well, some of these expensive stores that overcharge because they're hoping that you'll be, well, they're hoping that you're not going to be knowledgeable enough to understand that. Oh, it's Mario. I grew up with it. I'll pay $200 or $200 for it. No. Okay? I've bought some games from DKOldies, but I bought them from the clearance section, and the prices there were actually market value or less. Which, you know, for example, I bought, Mace the Dark Age, paid $15, just a cartridge. And it was about $5 more than what it was being sold for on eBay without the box of manual. With the box of manual, you know, that game is worth probably about $100 or better. You know, and this applies to console games. This applies to retro old computer games. If it's brand new and sealed, expect to pay a premium. But make sure, and it's hard to make sure, but try to make sure that the game has the original shrink wrap seal on it, and somebody with a shrink wrapping machine didn't just shrink wrap it and put it on a shelf to try to screw you, because that does happen. And really, it's trial and error. You really have to learn. I mean, I can give you as much advice as possible, but until you get into the thick of it and you make a few mistakes, you begin to realize. You know, here's another good example. Killer Instinct for the Super Nintendo. That game released right as the N64 was coming to market. So it is a rare game because they made less than 1 million plus copies of that game. So there aren't many copies out there in the wild. So a game like that, if it's in cartridge form with no boxes, you probably pay between $30 to $80. If it's complete in box, like I described earlier, you're going to expect to pay, you know, a premium for it. That's how this works. You know, just because it says Mario or Metroid, you know, doesn't mean it's worth much, because those games, when they made those games, they made, in some cases, hundreds of millions of copies. So they're not rare. You know, in this case, for a Metroid game or a Mario game from any generation, Nintendo generation console, for it to be worth anything more than $20 or $30, you have to have it complete in box with manual, the plastic baggie that holds the cartridge, and everything. That's how it works, and that's how it always works. Companies like DKOldies are trying to change that, all right, and add value to products that don't deserve it, and really, it's a ripoff. Okay, I'm not saying specifically DKOldies is a ripoff. I'll never say that. But anyone that tries to sell it to you that way is ripping you off. It's plain and simple. So this is my first video. I'm camera shy. I don't like to be on camera.